t-shirt. I love the jersey. Wait, is the guy dressed as Snoopy here? Where is he? Where is he? No Snoopy? Okay. It was alarming last year. It was just a commitment. I am Damian Holbrook from TV Guide Magazine and TVInsider.com, and I am so honored to be here today to celebrate 75 years of Peanuts. I know. This has been such a wild year. You've obviously seen the elevated presence of Peanuts in pop culture, in fashion, in the conversation. It's just the coolest thing to see. Because also, I am imagining if you are in this room, you kind of feel like you own it, right? So like when you see other people getting it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. I was there first. Right? Yeah. So I want to bring out our panel so we can talk about all the things that are basically the last 75 years and what we can look forward to going forward. So let's bring out the curator of the Charles M. Schulz Museum, Benjamin Clark. The creative director emeritus of the Charles M. Schulz Creative Associates, Paige Braddock. Senior VP Global Branding Communications of Peanuts Worldwide, Melissa Menta. Assistant Art Director at the Charles M. Schulz Creative Associates, Emma Harmon. And actor, producer, and Snoopy fan, Alec Baldwin. All right. Okay, well listen. So, to celebrate the 75th, Peanuts is inviting fans to share their memories of Snoopy, Charlie Brown, and the rest of the gang here at SDCC. Some examples include sharing which character you most relate to, a cherished childhood memory of Peanuts, or sharing your favorite product or collection with the hashtag #MySnoopyStory. So with that, I want to hear each of the panelists' Snoopy story. Benjamin, why don't you start?
Man, by the time I was growing up, I mean, Peanuts was ubiquitous. I mean, I probably had Peanuts, sheets on my crib. I don't even know. But yeah, growing up, I loved comics and reading it every day in the paper, and from that generation of people who grew up, kind of the last generation who grew up reading it every day, fresh.
Paige.
Well, I knew when I was 7 that I wanted to be a cartoonist, but growing up in rural Mississippi, there were no art classes, so I learned to draw comics by tracing and studying Snoopy. Yeah, he was like my first favorite cartoon character.
Melissa?
I had one of the first Snoopy plushes. I'm dating myself, I'm very old. And I held my Snoopy so much around the neck that his head fell off. When I started working on Peanuts, my mom had it sewed on and cleaned it, and I still have it in my apartment.
Well, I remember reading the funnies with my grandpa, and I also remember my aunt giving me Snoopy's snow cone machine in the 90s, which was beloved and used a lot.
First of all, I want to say this is indeed one of my ringtones on my phone. Just thought I'd throw that at you there. Well, for me, I grew up when the holidays. We watched the movie, the Christmas movie, and we all loved that movie. All the films that they made, and you were no one if you didn't have a Joe Cool T-shirt. And then Snoopy with the sunglasses on, Joe Cool. And I grew up in an era when there were newspapers, sometimes 2 a day. On Long Island, I lived when I was a child with my dad. We had the morning paper and the afternoon paper. The Newsday in the morning and the Long Island Press in the afternoon, and all of them had comics and all of them had Peanuts. And we would read Peanuts. But Schulz was something I learned about and was introduced to as a comic strip in the newspaper.
That was, Melissa, I very much like you, I was obsessed with Snoopy from the comic books, or the comics, like the little, not just the newspaper, but the little books that I was tracing. But I was so upset, I was begging for a plush Snoopy at Christmas. And I grew up Catholic, so you had to go to church before you could open Christmas presents, and begged my parents to take us to 6 a.m. Mass, so I could, because I was sure Santa was bringing me a Snoopy, and as we were being led out of the house, there's the tree and all the presents are under it. And my parents had wrapped him, or Santa had, in like a foil, because it was like the 70s, but it was the shape of Snoopy's head. And so I immediately saw it, I was like, that's it. For the next hour at church, I was unbearable. And I carried that Snoopy around by the face. So much that his nose came off multiple times.
Oh, mine
Yeah,
nose came
had
off.
to be sewn back on several surgeries, yeah. Melissa, why don't you tell them how they can share their Snoopy story and what's going on across the street?
Yep, you can go to peanuts.com and you can submit a video of your own about your own Snoopy story and have the ability to possibly have it reshared by Snoopygrams.
All right. And then, Alec, we were just backstage and in the prep for this, it came out that Alec is not just a Peanuts fan, but a specific version of Snoopy. So Alec, can you please explain this?
Sometimes I see people, especially at these events, I've been to a few cons in the last couple of years, Pittsburgh and Georgia, Atlanta and so forth, and I look at them, I'd be like, what's going on with these people? You know what I mean? Their obsession with their little gadgets and their shirts and their costumes. I'm like, man, this is a little weird. But the truth is, I'm obsessed with the great Houdini. How many of you remember the great Houdini? Raise your hand if you're a clap. Houdini. I'm obsessed. And these people who are like, they put Make-A-Wish in second place to how they treat me. They gave me a great Houdini. What do you call it? A doll? What is it? A figurine. I have a great Houdini figurine. If you come near me when I try to leave this building and steal my Houdini figurine, I'm surrounded by security. But I just love that character from the show. The great Houdini is my favorite.
And we have a clip, right? Or is it just this? This is the clip, okay. Because he has a very limited appearance in the package, right?
Isn't he amazing?
So Alec, not only that, but you also wrote a foreword to one of the volumes of The Complete Peanuts, correct?
Yes. The Complete Peanuts is a series of, what was it, 5, 6? How many?
6.
5 or 6, and I have them in my library, the one forward by many different well-known people. And it was really a great honor, because as I was talking to them a little while back, that, for me, Peanuts was live action, in the sense that it was a comic, but the voices were actors that spoke like people, so that kind of pulled me in. Of course, animated shows in coming years, and always, from the days of Mel Blanc and Bugs Bunny, and we all tried to do those voices and we really couldn't, I did a program years ago in my college where my job in school was to produce programming for the school. And we had Mel Blanc come on, and I produced Mel Blanc speaking. And to look at this guy and know that all those voices came out of his body, it was just Mel Blanc. If you don't know Mel Blanc, if you're young, Hanna-Barbera, what's the other one, famous one that I remember, forget the duo. And all those cartoons, but Peanuts was unusual, because all the people, they spoke like people. So for me, that really, really pulled me in. And what was your question?
Writing the foreword.
So the book was a great honor, because like most people my age and beyond, it's not an age thing, it's a multi-generational, pan-generational thing, Peanuts has been like up there with Disney. It's Disney and Peanuts and Charles Schultz and all that stuff. This has been a part of my life my whole life. And I have children. I'm 67 years old, and I have 7 children. My oldest, she's looking at me like, man, you must be dead. I'm dead. But I have 7 kids. The oldest is 11, the youngest is 2. And they're right in there. They all have Woodstock t-shirts on. They all have all their stuff from Peanuts. So it just goes on. What was the other one I said? It was the Beatles. It was like the Beatles, Disney, and Charles Schultz. They all go on forever and ever and ever.
Yes. Okay, and then obviously you were also part of Rock the Vote, which is a great campaign. We had a bunch of people connected with that, correct?
We did, but Alec was our favorite.
Yes.
We thought it would be fun to have Snoopy there, and I remember when he first walked in, he was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's Snoopy." Am I supposed to talk to Snoopy? Yes. And so it ended up being really great.
Look how young I was in that picture. Oh my God.
Look how young Snoopy looks. Benjamin and Paige, let's talk about it. Let's do a brief history. How did it start? How did Schultz, most of us know the lore, but let's talk about the humble beginnings, because it's wild to see what the early days look like.
Yeah. Well, I'll start us off.
Okay.
So, Charles Schultz, he was born in 1922, and he grew up mostly in Minnesota's Twin Cities, and his parents subscribed to the 2 St. Paul papers, and his dad would pick up the 2 Minneapolis papers at the drugstore, which was next to his barbershop, and bring them home. And so he had 4 gigantic color comic sections every Sunday, and it spread them out and just pour over them. And young Charles Schultz, in that environment, became obsessed with comics. And by the age of 6, he says to his parents, I'm going to grow up and become a newspaper comic strip artist. And they're like, okay. How does that happen? We don't know, but that sounds good. So his parents were really supportive and did the best they could, to kind of figure that out. And so you had a knack for drawing?
Yeah, I was gonna say before he moves on from that slide though, if you just look at that photo of Schultz and those tools and you think to yourself, that's all it was. It started with a pen and ink and paper and him.
Yeah.
And that creative energy, that is where Peanuts came from. It kind of blows your mind, really,
Yeah.
just creating something from nothing in that way. Sorry.
No.
But I just when I look at that picture, I'm like, it seems so simple, and yet it has this reach that it's hard to sort of grasp. That he just tapped into this universal feeling with people, and it's why 75 years later we still care, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. And he's one of these kids who can't stop drawing. He's drawing on every blank piece of writing surface he can get his hands on. He talked about how his dad's shirts would come back from the laundry wrapped in paper, and he's drawing on that. He just couldn't stop. And so he eventually takes a correspondence course in cartooning, which really helped him out with some of the fundamentals. I always find it funny that he took the correspondence course and the school was actually just 6 miles from his house. Like he could have gone to the in-person one, but young Charles Schultz was really shy and couldn't handle the idea of doing that. And so we fast forward in time a little bit.
Yeah, I think we brought some slides because I think
This is crazy.
Yeah, I think what we lose in sort of as a modern audience, like we forget like where he started and how he was like a nobody. And he was such a nobody that when the strip started, the ad promoting the comic, see it very tiny at the bottom of that page? It's like a postage stamp size. There it is. It starts today. So very easy to miss.
And at that point, there was so much competition on those comics pages to get space.
Oh, yeah.
And here he is coming in with very minimalist drawings.
Right. So
Panels that are sometimes silent, and then you see how busy the rest of the images are.
yeah, when you see him on the rest of the comics page from that same era, you're like, you can imagine these other cartoonists are going, who is this guy? Can he even draw? There's like nothing to his strip, because you got all these sort of densely illustrated adventure comics and sequential story, deep sequential storylines. And here's this guy who's coming along and just doing this postage-sized comic, doing a gag a day kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they could run it in all different directions.
Right. It was kind of a little bit of a gimmick that the syndicate had cooked up for this new strip. They called it a space saver, and the idea was these 4 equal panels could be run horizontally, vertically, like here in the Minneapolis Tribune, or in a grid of 2 by 2. What's really funny about this is the very first strip that we've been sharing, the debut strip from October 2nd, 1950. And if we go back to that previous one there from the Minneapolis Tribune, that would have been the version that Charles Schultz would have seen. And if you notice, it only ran in 3 panels. They actually cut one of his panels from his debut
From his own paper.
From his own paper.
That'd be like a knife in the heart.
It would be. Yeah. He does get a couple inches of attention there as the creator of Peanuts began career in city.
And did you notice also on the previous, the slide before this one, they misspelled shopping? Did you guys see that?
No.
It was like shop-ing.
I love how some of the panels you see, it's like almost like a hopper,
Yeah.
Sort of very noir almost. And I love if you go back to the other panel back in those days, and you go back to that other picture, the guy that's writing the article, if you can switch back or no. Most people don't have like a really warm, smiley headshot, and he's looking at you like long writers really want to look at you like that. It's like, sure, pal.
So-
very cynical. Anyway, go ahead.
So we get started, and how did he claim his space? Because I know that there was some kind of, where he stood his ground, right?
I don't know that history, but,
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I mean, he made a lot of use of white space because he knew he had his strip was so shrunk down that he would keep kind of background simple to help draw the eye and find that space in the attention of his readers, because otherwise he's competing against, you saw those other strips, they're really dense.
Yeah.
The page is dense itself. Oftentimes, at that time, daily comics were kind of spread throughout the paper. They weren't necessarily in a section. Editors would put daily comics kind of throughout the paper to encourage readers to read the whole paper. And so, so he's competing, and then some, Peanuts ran in the classified section pretty often too. And so, he knew, and he talked about using that white space to draw the eye.
yeah, I do think he made his limitation his strength ultimately.
Absolutely.
Because it forced him to make the best use of the space. Maybe that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a Peanuts Through the Decades tour, because we've put together, this is what it is, it's like the greatest PowerPoint you're about to ever see. Because let me tell you, some of the images and the visuals you're about to see are going to evoke so many memories, and so many I want to go find that, I need to know where, I need to remember where I put that. So let's talk about the 50s, because this was really when the first licensed products started to happen. So by this point, he was popular enough to be attracting commercial deals.
Yeah, by the late 1950s, we begin to see some licensing happen, but it was until almost a whole decade in. It was not quite, but almost. Yeah.
You can tell when you look at this early stuff, though, it was just him, and he didn't have a team, and
Yeah.
he wasn't a sculptor, and so every piece looks unique, right? It's like the shapes are different, they're kind of off model. It's sort of what you like about him, because there's artistic expression from the sculptor themselves. It's not necessarily on model for Peanuts like what you would see now, but anyway.
You would never approve any of those.
I wouldn't have approved it. But I still love them.
Yes.
And it's interesting that there were car deals
Yeah.
with characters that cannot drive.
Right.
These cartoon children to sell cars. Yeah.
That's the only time, by the way, I've seen Lucy, where she actually looks like she went to medical school. She's a psychiatrist, correct? She's a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
That means 4 years of medical school.
Yeah.
And that's Lucy, who looks like she went to school for, she graduated when she was 8. No,
She's Doogie Howser. What is the package at the bottom corner in the bag?
That looks like Beethoven and Schroeder.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then in the 60s, that's when we start to see really the mass licensing and the real explosion of this is now a fully embedded portion of pop culture. We're seeing, the lunchboxes alone. Once you are a lunchbox, you've made it. They were like the predecessors to now it's like if you're a Funko, you've made it. But this is where we see, and then you have some very interesting deals and partnerships that still exist. So with the NASA of it all, let's talk about that first, Melissa.
Yeah, I think people often credit Charlie Brown Christmas as the beginning of licensing, but really the relationship between NASA and Schultz in the early 60s, I think, was the start, which I think everybody in this room probably knows the story because you came to our panel several years ago, but Apollo 10 was the practice mission to the moon, and it was named after Snoopy and Charlie Brown. We also started debuting in the Macy's parade. Snoopy is the longest running balloon in the Macy's parade. So the 60s was really when it started to kind of explode.
And then the Silver Beagle? Or the Silver Snoopy?
Yes, sorry, that's the Silver Snoopy. That's the award that people at NASA get if they've done something really significant for space exploration. And you get it only given to you by an astronaut, and it has definitely been flown to space as well. They still give them out every year.
They still get them.
And now Melissa also talking about things that have been to space. You have not. But you did get into like the NASA, like the capsule and all that, right?
I did. I got to take the elevator up the side of Artemis 1 to deliver the zero gravity indicator, which was Snoopy. It was definitely a memory of a lifetime. I couldn't take pictures because NASA told me you couldn't take anything up to the top of the rocket. So, but I do have a photo. If you want to come up after, I'll show it to you.
So wait, so the zero gravity indicator was they literally just let go of a Snoopy to see if it floated?
Yeah, Snoopy was tethered within inside the rocket, and as soon as they got to weightlessness, he started floating around. I also have a picture of that.
I wish I was in that meeting with a bunch of generals from the Air Force. And the meetings are called to order. They're like, okay, so we want to put Snoopy in outer space. And they're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
That's sort of what I said when they called and said, Snoopy can be the ZGI, because NASA speaks in acronyms, and I was like, I have no idea what ZGI is.
So, but then obviously you see he became sort of a mascot to the astronauts, because didn't they like rub his nose for good luck as they boarded?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And then, so when we get to the actual specials, this was where it really like, we've seen it in commerce, and then it becomes something that is now in our home, and it is now part of our lives. So let's talk about the first, like the Christmas special, which Sparky did have some issues with after the fact, correct? Because it had to happen very, very quickly.
I don't know. I think he was pretty happy with it actually in the end. It's the 60th anniversary this year for the Christmas special. But you're right. It was done on a schedule that even today is like no, no. You can't.
I thought I had read somewhere about like the animation where it was like, oh, that wouldn't have been okay, or that wouldn't have flown if we'd had more time.
Oh, I see. Yeah. There was like, originally in the closing credits, Snoopy is singing along with the children, "Hark the Herald Angels." So
There's a lot of funny, like, the characters bump noses and overlap, and the grass line moves.
And Snoopy vanishes? Or no, he pops up.
Yeah, there's a lot of really funny things that happen. But I do think Alec is right when he said that one of the things that really makes that show live in your heart is the voices of the kids.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't cast actors, and they just, I mean, when you hear Linus give that speech, it just gets you right in the heart, right? Because it's just such a sincere little sweet kid voice.
Yeah. And then The Great Pumpkin gives us really our first taste of the animated version of the surreal edge that Peanuts could have, where we get into the flight of fancy of, Snoopy doing the tour of duty, basically.
That was Bill. I mean, Bill Melendez, I think, was visionary, and like he was an amazing artist, the way he executed that. Think how scary it is. Like, you've done a comic, your whole career, and now somebody's going to animate it. They're going to put sound and voices, and now those characters are coming off the page, and they're in your living room. What if you don't like the way they sound, right? I mean, it probably felt really risky. Like, what if you take it to this new medium and it doesn't resonate the way it does in its natural form? So it was probably like exciting and nerve-wracking, and they really hit the jackpot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How did Sparky feel about the attention, though? Like the public attention, like being a Time magazine cover and being, a Life magazine.
He probably thought, it's about time. I was a space saver for 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was pretty shy, and that level of attention can be daunting sometimes.
I think though he was people confuse shyness with confidence. He was very confident, and he, I think, knew that he was a very gifted cartoonist and that he was a smart man, and so he had this nice balance between, like, maybe it's the Midwestern thing. He had this nice balance between, being shy and not like stepping in your room and like going, look at me, but at the same time he felt his self-confidence too.
Yeah. And so we talked earlier, when I started the panel, I talked about how like we're seeing Peanuts all over the world still, in fashion, in pop culture, in home decor. That Linus t-shirt, or sweatshirt, I guess it is, that's the thing that was then replicated by Marc Jacobs years later, right?
Yeah, it was. I think there's another slide about this, but in 1962, this amazing woman named Connie Boucher, who was a window dresser and creative in San Francisco and a fan of Peanuts, went and got a hold of Sparky and pitched him on, I think the very first thing was like date books. She was like, you gotta make date books. And what came out of that conversation and that relationship, he really liked her and respected her first, which I think that they both got along so well. They obviously both had, you know, a real eye that worked together. But the very first thing they did in 1962, I believe, was Happiness is a Warm Puppy, which was like this huge, huge, crazy, successful book that you probably all know and love. And many, many decades of products have been inspired by the look of that book. Both the character artwork by Sparky and then the like book design, these like bright, saturated colors that Connie kind of brought to the table. So their relationship, they ended up making all kinds of like everyday products, those kind of like family products, the lunch boxes, the books, the date books, and then the sweatshirts, which were very, very popular and still are. Yeah. Everyone probably recognizes these from, you know, one place or another. They've been copied and reproduced and reworked for many, many years now.
I can't stop shopping. Every picture you show, I'm shopping.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if your parents are old.
What am I gonna do to get that?
Yeah. And I'm sure many of you have been to the booth this year. We've got some really fun products that are inspired by these, just because they really resonate with the fans, young and old, and for a long time now. So that was a special sort of the start of, I would say, like the, you know, modern Peanuts licensing program and the look of a lot of these products.
And then all along, as this is all happening, we're also getting daily comics, we're getting other specials, we're getting more books, we're getting like, there's so much now happening at this point. And then in the 1970s, we get the most iconic, I feel, the snow cone. That thing, I believe, for anyone of that age, you either had it or you hated somebody who had it. And this, they have you been, if you haven't gone over to the pop-up, you have to get there before the end of the convention because it is a perfectly curated museum of vintage product that, again, like the snow cone, which there's a giant snow cone stand, which is amazing. But this is that and the phone, which I believe—
It's my phone.
That's your phone, right? Yes.
They borrowed it from me.
So let's talk about these, and of course the TV Guide magazine cover, thank you very much. So this is really, now we're fully fledged, like this is, Snoopy is an icon, he has become, you know, again, the parade float, the zingers. This was, because also, how many of you remember like those commercials before the specials? Yeah, remember those? Like, again, I'm sure they were all terrible foods for us, but amazing. And so let's look at some of these. Where is the industry, like where is the brand going at this point?
In the 1970s?
Yeah.
Well, right around 1970 is when Schultz set up Schultz Creative Associates, and he's starting to, you know, realize this licensing thing isn't, you know, slowing down or getting smaller, and so he begins to surround himself with some professionals to help, you know, manage it all and just keep an eye on things.
Were there any kind of boundaries as far as what he wasn't interested in?
Yeah, definitely. Like there's some stories about, you know, him turning down, you know, diapers, you know,
Vitamins.
Yeah.
That's still on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
Ashtrays, probably.
Probably.
And then we had Snoopy Come Home, which was, as a kid who grew up with the early days of cable, this was something that aired almost daily on back when it was called Home Box Office. So at this point, let's talk about the 80s, because this is where, yeah, the Boy George one.
Are you sure you don't like that one, Alec?
It's getting a little more creative here in the 80s.
The 80s were a weird time.
Yeah, I'll let you use that word.
There you go.
I say creative. It's very creative. You know, I don't know what they're putting in that lunch pail. But anyway, what is the thing to the right of the lunch pail? What is it, like a little top? Does it say Sony on top or Snoopy? What's the orange
handheld
thing?
game.
It's like
The game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the artwork at the center is the Everhard.
Yeah, that's Everhard.
And how did that come about? Because that has also become a very iconic image, his work.
He was, Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was hired by the New York office to do some freelance artwork, and Sparky saw it and thought he was pretty good, but Tom was like naturally a fine art painter, and so he started doing this thing where he would blow the character images up and do like really loose color applications, and then it does feel like a thing you saw in the 80s, right? That kind of like splattered color and bright, like big poster art and things like that. So I think that's kind of how their relationship started. He still does stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think also.
MetLife,
Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the MetLife thing in the lower right. That was to
I
me.
remember that.
That's a funny thing, right? That you would have a beagle selling insurance. Who took that seriously? I don't know. Like you're talking about the guy in the conference room saying, "I think we should have the beagle sell life insurance."
But I think that's why it's the same with NASA. Like, why was Snoopy the poster of safety missions? Because Peanuts is so simple and it can really make complex decisions and discussions easier and nicer to be. That's our theory. That's our theory.
It's because beagles are trustworthy, inherently trustworthy.
But I also see that Snoopy. Am I wrong here? You guys tell me here if you see it. He looks a little old there, right there, when he's in the Macy's parade. It's like middle-aged Snoopy. Right. He's sitting there going, Jesus, another trip down Central Park West on a rainy November day in New York. How many shows have I got to do?
They don't make parades like they used
Yeah,
to.
Snoopy's like, back in '65, that was a parade.
And does anyone know the story behind the Knott's Berry Farms partnership? Because it's a very interesting, because at the time when theme parks were all trying to get their own characters and there were some branded theme parks, obviously, what was it about Knott's Berry that he decided or thought was a good match?
That I do not know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's from the early 80s. It was like 83-ish, I think.
Yeah.
That
82?
yeah.
I think it's 82.
And it's a
partnership started.
And it's has anyone here been to, where are we? We're in California, right? Yeah. Oh my good God, I have lost time. Has anyone been to the Knott's Berry Farm Camp Snoop? Right? Yes! It is like, I went and I was like, I was ready to leave and we're like, oh, there's a whole like theme park we should go to. And I was like, oh, I'm just here for the merch. And then the Boy George, again, very interesting. And the Time magazine cover.
Yes.
Yeah. Did Peanuts get into that game?
Melissa?
All I know is it wouldn't be approved now. I don't know.
Wouldn't be approved.
He allowed a lot of things that I know these people here won't let us do anymore. So I don't know the history of that. Do you, Benjamin?
I don't.
Yeah.
What
You
should
know, there are a lot of things you see like from like in the early days, people, you know, the way we use social media now to express ourselves, people use Peanuts to express feelings about things like, and you would see like, you know, on military planes, you'd see Snoopy on his doghouse, and you'd see other things. And I don't know, I feel like he had this way of, in the same way you were saying, he was a friendly way to approach a hard subject. It's like, okay, if this article is about education and Peanuts is there, maybe I'm going to read it and give it a minute. I mean, maybe it's almost like it felt like it was a civic duty or something, right?
Yeah.
And we also know them so well in the classroom situation.
Right, they're always
The
in
desks,
school.
yes.
They're Parrot Patty, for one, is doing poorly in school, and you know, but yeah.
Melissa, the Macy's Parade float, you've been actively involved in that arrangement, and have you gotten a chance to walk it?
Oh yeah. I've been under the balloon before, so is Paige. It's a lot of fun. It's like, you just see how excited everybody is to actually see Snoopy, and it's like, it just goes, the parade goes by so fast.
The kids love it.
Yeah, the kids really love it.
And how does one become, like, how does one get that chance to hold one of the ropes?
You have to work for Macy's or be very special.
Okay. And do you know how many different floats Snoopy's there have been?
I think we're on 10 or 11 now. The Beagle Scout will have his last flight this fall, and surprise, we'll tell you what the next one is next year.
He's having a facelift.
Having some work done. Yeah.
He's having some work done.
Yeah. Okay, and now moving into the 90s, which again, not the most normal era, but we had a Super Bowl moment with Peanuts, correct?
Yeah, don't Google it.
Is that the one where they chase the bottle?
No,
No,
this is
sorry.
like they're dancing at halftime, and it's terrifying.
So we get that, and then Schultz gets his star on the Walk of Fame, which is long overdue at this point. And then we've also got the Happy Meal. Is it on this page? Yes, there's the Happy Meal. And what goes into making that product? Like, how is that decided?
McDonald's decides what property they want to use, and then we talk to them about what the theme should be. So for example, we did one theme to space, so then we had to involve NASA, and then getting the logo onto the product was very stressful because NASA you have to do exactly the logo that they have, but they're these little figurines, so. And then it's really up to McDonald's, and they do things differently in each country. But usually Snoopy's pretty popular for them.
Mm-hmm. And then You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown musical. Has anyone seen it or been in it? Okay, all right. What did Sparky think about that? Did he ever talk about the musical?
Oh, he loved it. When it came to San Francisco, he went a lot and got to know the cast and hung out with them. And back in the '60s, when it first came out to San Francisco, after it was in New York, and no, he really enjoyed it, and he thought it was just, for him, it was such a novel experience to be in an audience and hear his work and hear the response. Because every day he's in his studio working by himself, and actually Mrs. Schultz has told me a story about how she was stopped by to see him and talking about something. He's drawing, he's working, and she kind of looks over at some of the strips that are drying on the other table, and she's just kind of reading them, and then she just kind of chuckles a little bit at one, and he just stops. He goes, "Which one? Which one was funny?" And she's like, "Oh, it was this one here." He goes, I'm never sure."
Oh wow!
And because he didn't have an audience that he could work with. He was so hearing so going to the musical, hearing his words from the stage, and then having the audience react, was really, really special to him.
And as a lot of people know, when they did it in the '90s with Kristen Chenoweth as Sally. I'd done an interview with her, and she noticed that I have an arm full of Peanuts tattoos.
You mean a body full.
What's that?
Your whole body is.
Oh, yeah. It's literally bordering on copyright infringement at this point. But she noticed it, and she was acting like she was a little disturbed that I did not have a Sally. Like, I feel like she's very possessive of Sally now that she's done it. Which I thought was absolutely adorable because, again, Queen Kristen Chenoweth. And now into the 2000s and now, we've got the elevation of Snoopy, the Snoopy in Style exhibit, which was, I have those sneakers. So this is because this is going to end up being a tattoo as well. So let's go back to that Snoopy in Style exhibit. Melissa, you've been all over the world with these exhibits, correct?
Yeah, so Connie Boucher, who Emma spoke about, is my idol because she did so many cool things with Peanuts, and one thing was she went to every single famous designer in the entire world in the 1980s and asked them to design outfits for Snoopy and Belle, and they all did it. So last year I spoke to Benjamin and I said, we need to do Snoopy in Style, the history of peanuts and fashion. And we did it this spring in Paris, and it was really fun. You can see some of the dolls. Jean-Charles de Casabajac is a huge Peanuts fan. We had a room dedicated to him. That's the cloak that he made for Vanessa Paradis. And it was just a really fun exhibition, and I hope to bring it to the US. And when we do, we'll tell you guys about it.
And is this still up in Paris?
No, it's closed now, so the next location is top secret.
So where's that cloak being held? Like where would one stumble upon that?
Actually, Jean-Charles asked me if he could borrow it, so he borrowed it from me. So it's in the south of France at an exhibition of his.
Where it belongs, I guess, but I would love.
But I told him I need it back.
Right. Okay, so then we've got this. Then you have the Hallmark partnership, which has been an eternal partnership. This has been going on for a long time as well. But again, Hallmark now has really, really upped their game with the Peanuts love. Do we have that?
Yeah, I mean, Hallmark is it the longest running licensee, continuous licensing partnership. And again, a lot of the most iconic Peanuts products, I think, have come out of that partnership. I can't remember, what was the first year? It was in the 60s.
It was like 1960.
1960, yeah. So, many, many decades of cards and Christmas ornaments that are beloved, as well as plush, and here's some video footage of that.
I'm still not seeing Houdini here. Hallmark, French museums. No Houdini.
So you'll see, yeah, just a ton of variety of product.
Hallmark used to let us say that 1 in 5 Hallmark cards sold was a Peanuts card, and they let us say that for many years.
Back that up. Back that. You couldn't. I guess it's not in the video. That picture. This was the coolest thing. There's that picture of him at the train that says
Kansas
City.
Yeah.
It is. What is it? The only time Snoopy has had a word bubble.
And not a thought bubble.
Yeah, not a thought bubble. So it's like he doesn't have the. He's got the point.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
I
There it is. Yeah. So at one point in Kansas City, a dog spoke.
don't know. Yeah.
And no one was there to witness it.
That's right.
Nobody. So one of the things that we've seen that has become almost it's gone viral is the puffer coat. Snoopy. One of the greatest images known to man. This is we've seen this everywhere. We've got NPR did a piece on it. I mean, this is again one of those things where an editor is like, we should do a piece on it.
It looks like Snoopy's on Sex in the City with that coat.
Right.
Walking down a chilly street in New York. Look at that.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
When you guys when you're in the Peanuts ecosystem, when do you start to notice that something is starting to spike in popularity?
When I get a phone call and somebody says, why do you think there's a resurgence of Peanuts now? Because that happens almost every year. And I say, there's not a resurgence, it's always existed. And I think that social media has changed things. So things go viral on TikTok. So the puffer coat definitely went viral on TikTok. You couldn't find the plush anywhere. And all these Gen Z journalists kept saying to me, wow, it's so cool. I'm like, yeah, it was cool in 1952. You think it's cool because you saw it on TikTok, but it's been cool for everybody for decades.
Right, they're not, it's not a resurgence, they're just joining us.
Welcome to the fold.
Yes. And honestly, there's a new generation that continues to discover it. You see the blind boxes, the Miniso blind boxes, the Pop Mart stuff. Uniqlo has a bunch of stuff. Urban Outfitters. It's pretty amazing to see where all this is coming. And again, very little Houdini out there. I don't understand, Alec. I really don't. But social media has definitely, and Snoopy Grams has really taken a really nice step forward with it. Look at
It's
this.
like the comic strip was social media before its time. It's like 4 simple panels, so it works really well as on Instagram because of that. It also works well on TikTok as well. It works well on everything, but it really is just the beginning of social media was the comic strip.
Yeah.
My kids eat a lot of bars. They love bars, like snack bars. And I'm going to invent a bar.
There you go.
And you're going to beg me to put Houdini on that.
So Peanuts also works very nicely in the podcast space, correct?
Yes. Last year we launched You Don't Know Peanuts. I hope everyone here is listening to it. It's the Untold Stories. I'm one of the hosts, and I'm here to say that Damien is now my co-host for the next season. So see that coming soon. We would really like to, there's a story, like the Snoopy and Style story talks about Connie Boucher, because not that many people know that story. It's just a really deep dive into stories that don't get to be told that often.
And you're also going to collab with Alex Podcast, correct?
I'm hoping.
This is the first time hearing
Oh!
it.
Well, Alec, you have a podcast.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a great space for you to really go public.
I
Really
would love it.
public.
I would love. No, seriously. Anything you guys want to do, let me know. Melissa knows how to contact me. I'd love it. It'd be great.
He's sorry he said that.
There's the podcast, Here's the Thing. And then we also have, because of his deep, deep respect and appreciation for Houdini, we have this poster has been created for him.
That's it.
That he will be receiving after
Love
this.
that.
Yeah, it was too big for us to bring to this. Yeah.
It's so, we have 6 of them for you, actually.
I'll have to buy 3 or 4 more houses.
So we'll be shipping them to you.
Yes. All right, so Melissa and Paige, let's talk about the happenings at the booth and at the pop-out.
I'm gonna have Emma tell us.
Yeah, definitely. So
Wait, is any of this for sale? No.
it is. All of it is for sale.
No.
And selling out daily, but we do get new stock every morning. So if you
The
didn't
phone is for sale?
The phone is for sale, and it's actually a really special 75th anniversary collaboration with Hallmark. It's a Christmas ornament. So, and the buttons work. You can press the buttons, and you'll hear Snoopy and Woodstock cackling. Along
Are you going to save one for me?
Yes, of course.
So glad I came now.
The sort of crown jewel of our booth this year is the Daily Beagle newspaper. You can see in the bottom left corner. Myself and Paige and Benjamin and others at both the museum and the Schultz studio in Santa Rosa worked really hard on this paper for the last year, basically. We wrote articles and filled it with beautiful comic strips and funny tales, informative history, all of that stuff, all about Sparky and his strip and history of Peanuts. So that's kind of the central piece of our Peanuts newsstand booth this year. We've got the Newsboy crossbody bag to go
That's
with
a
that.
bag, an actual bag?
Yeah, it
How
is.
big would you say it is?
It's pretty big. It's a nice size,
Yeah.
and then some other products, just sort of celebrating that history of Peanuts products and the amazing fans that interact with those products.
Is it a
and the
watch?
comic- Yep, the Timex 75th anniversary watch.
Oh, you have it on?
Definitely model it. So please come see us at booth 1635. I'd love to see you and share some of these awesome products with you.
And then over at the pop-up shop, we've
Yeah.
got this bounty.
Yeah, the pop-up shop is directly across the street. Almost if you exit the convention center from our panel, you walk out and you can see it across the street. Come every day, there's free snow cones. Not all the time, but during special slots, and Snoopy's there for photo ops. But it's also, it has a complimentary ornament, that's the snow cone machine, to the phone that's at the booth. And there's just a lot of fun, like Damien said at the beginning, it's kind of like a museum dedicated to vintage Peanuts products.
And it's the round building. So if you're looking across the street, it's the round one, and it's amazing. All right, so we've got that. Oh, and now there's also a Peanuts Abrams panel to celebrate the release of the 75th anniversary book, Essential Peanuts, on Saturday tomorrow, The 26th at 4:30 p.m. Who's part of that one? Ah, okay. Did you work it? You obviously worked.
I worked on the book. I'm not on the panel.
So what can we expect in that book?
I think this book ended up being really fan focused to me. I mean, there's a lot in there for fans to like, and it has a bunch of essays from different folks in the comics industry too, talking about different aspects of Peanuts, and it just has tons of comics. It's a really fun book. Yeah.
And it's the same size as the collection, correct?
It's pretty big. It's a pretty big book. It comes in a slipcase with some extras. It has some replicas of like the comics that were published in the comic books that were published in the 50s, I think, that Sparky worked on. Yeah, Chip Kidd, Charlie Kochman, Mark Evanier. I think we're all going to be on that panel. So Mark wrote it. He did a really amazing job.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I want to get to some quick questions. If you guys have any questions. So the microphone is right there.
Hi, I've been thinking about this since you guys started this panel, so thank you for giving us some time for this. When you all said, what was your first memory, the first thing that I thought about was the song Snoopy versus the Red Baron. My cousins and I used to fly around the room listening to that song. Was that unsanctioned? Because nobody talked about it today.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. They just kind of put it out, and then it got, it was a huge hit, and so of course Schultz's syndicate heard about it, and Mr. Schultz did too, and they kind of said, well, you're not really supposed to do that. So they worked out a deal. The Royal Guardsmen was the band. And
Yeah.
they did a bunch of sequels, and they worked it out. So yeah.
Fantastic.
So it's funny because someone told me a story once about Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah.
How the producers of Hogan's Heroes, they knew, or someone who had the rights to Stalag 17, the William Holden movie, knew it was just ripping off the movie. So they waited to see if the show would become a hit. And when it became a hit, it did like 3 seasons, 4 seasons, whatever. They waited, and then they go, let's talk about what you owe us. After 5 seasons of the show. So it may be very similar to this.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello there. Welcome. A pleasure to see you again, Paige and Melissa, and a great day. Question is for you, sir. I've asked this before in a previous panel, but what, in your opinion, is that secret ingredient? We've talked about 75 years of Schultz, Snoopy, Peanuts, and everything that keeps it timeless for future generations.
Availability. You watch characters now, and a lot of characters, without mentioning any names, it's all like hypermasculinity, and there's all sexualization, and there's all these characters, whatever they have, in not just the comic book, but the motion picture space as well. But Peanuts has always been a safe place. It's always been a comfortable place. It's always been a place where people are more thoughtful than they are, everything at the expense of the other person. Now, when Lucy pulls the football away from him, that's supposed to be funny. That's not meant to be mean or what have you. There's next to no mean in Peanuts. And everything else, there's a lot of mean out there. A lot of people taking people down, and what's the word? Confrontational. And there was very little of that. I mean, Schultz had the perfect ear, the perfect eye for how you kind of navigate through a space where it's just not ugly. It's not just innocence. It's not just kids and innocence. It's, that's Barney the dinosaur and things that are like holy for little children. Schultz just surfed a wave that was just perfect in terms of its intelligence, its complexity for its age, but also not at the expense of anyone, really.
And as a magician myself, I concur with your statement, more Contini.
All right, there we go. Thank you.
So I have my husband of 18 years trained. He cannot give me a Valentine's Day card that does not have Snoopy on it. Has to be every year. My best friend in the 2nd grade, Michelle, had all the Snoopy products, and I hated her. I did.
Right.
And she had the Snoopy and Belle dolls with the little outfits.
The fashion dolls.
Yes.
They're over at the pop-up. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Can you bring them back?
They have a bride and groom set.
Yes.
They're brother and sister.
I know. them all the time.
He reads your email.
Yeah. Across the street, go to the pop-up, you'll see them.
Yeah, but can I buy them?
No. Oh,
No.
maybe on Sunday.
Put that on the Houdini list.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the Woodstock with the Houdini with the rabbit ears.
Thank you.
Hello, I am a middle school drama director, and one of the things that I would love to do is bring Peanuts to my students, but the structure, I have 99 students in my group, so to take the Peanuts world and make it work for that, is it quite possible? Has there been any thought to bringing a Peanuts for middle schoolers drama to life? Not necessarily You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, but something that would keep the longevity of Peanuts going in a new generation in a positive energy.
We have a lot of in-school curriculum. You can go to peanuts.com and download that for any age. But yeah, we do have a touring a Charlie Brown Christmas, and there will be more coming.
And if you need a playwright, I have one.
Respect that hustle. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much for coming out. I do want to share that my mother-in-law texts me a picture from the newspaper of a Peanuts column almost every day of the strip. It's so great.
She's a monster.
She's 87. She's fantastic. I'm very, very lucky. I wanted to kind of talk a little bit, not just about the education, but how do you see this going forward? Like, I would love to hear how you guys see this not only as the physical objects, but as digital objects, and kind of keeping, not necessarily, I don't know if in perpetuity is correct, but how do you see things going maybe even in the next quarter century, so 2050? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Can I talk about the new content a little bit? Sure. So I don't know if you guys watch Apple TV Plus, but we have been doing a lot of new kids content on Apple TV Plus, animation, and what you call co-view specials, which are more family-centered, not just for young kids, but shows that are maybe a little bit deeper for families to watch together, where you have multiple generations of the family. And so that is one thing we're doing to reach new audiences, because as Benjamin and I were talking about the newspaper, like, people don't read newspapers anymore, right? And then Melissa mentioned we put the comic a lot on social media because it's like a perfect four-panel thing. But you might have noticed when we showed that slide how Schultz drew it in black and white, and those panels that we put on social media almost all the time are in color, and we sort of use a more modern color palette. And I think that also makes maybe modern fans notice it in a different way or appeal to people in a different way. But
Another resurgence.
yeah. But it is interesting because the universe and the world of Peanuts is self-contained in that, unlike other properties like Disney and other places where multiple artists did the work, Peanuts is really the vision of one man. It's the vision of Schultz. And so no one can really write it the way he did, and we kind of keep that, the comic strip itself is a sacred space. Nobody does the comic strip. But we can do stories in animation and on social media and in picture books that give other fans an entry point to the magic of the strip, but it's not, it's not Sparky's voice. But we all work really hard, everybody on this panel, including Alec, work really hard to keep Peanuts Peanuts, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is a challenge, right, in a landscape that's really crowded with new content. So
Thanks so much.
I unfortunately have to end it there because we have people from Comic-Con to present something, correct? Yes. I'm so sorry, but these guys have to be awarded. Oh, you got it. It's like the attorney. The accountant.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. First of all, thank you for allowing me to crash this party. I wish I could have been here for the whole thing, but I'm here now. We at Comic-Con are obviously very excited to help celebrate the 75th anniversary of Peanuts. All of us here and around the world are familiar with Charles M. Schulz's wonderful creation. We love it. The stories he wrote, Drew were humorous and oftentimes had sociological undertones. Schulz created a world in comic strips that, as a child, and even as an adult, I could really identify with. In those strips I saw myself, my friends, and yes, even my dog. And like Charlie Brown and his friends, I may not have been able to speak the language of my dog, whose name was Spooky. I understood him, and you know what? I think he understood me. I could go on, and as anyone who is a fan can attest, it's just a magical comic strip that it just lives on forever. I think, as Mr. Baldwin said, it's just nice, and that is really a cool thing. And you can be nice and also learn, and I think I certainly did. I'm here because each year Comic-Con bestows one of its highest tributes, the Icon Award, to an individual who's been instrumental in bringing comic art to a wider audience. Charles Schulz certainly accomplished that. So it is with great honor and personal happiness that on behalf of the Board of Directors, committee, staff, we proudly present the 2025 Comic-Con Icon Award posthumously to Charles Schulz.
Thank you so much to Comic-Con. On behalf of Mr. Schulz, the Schulz family, Peanuts Worldwide, Schulz Creative Associates, and the Charles Schulz Museum in beautiful Santa Rosa, California. Come and see us. I want to say thank you for this award. I know Mr. Schulz would have been just blown away and so grateful. So thank you. Thank you very much.
On closing, I would just say, Paige, if you could kind of talk to us one last bit about the Schulz legacy, talking about what's going forward. How would you explain the Schulz legacy?
Well, I think, like sort of trailing what I was just saying about how the work is the work of one person. I think we're ever mindful of that at the studio and at Peanuts Worldwide, and we always want fans to feel a connection to Schulz, to the guy that created it. I always think of Peanuts as kind of a cult brand in that way, that we're not corporate, we're not a big, we don't feel corporate because we try to stay very true to Mr. Schulz's original creative intent with the characters. And I hope that as fans you guys notice that and that you feel it when you see Peanuts stuff in the world.
Okay.